I was anticipating doing a whole lot of fun stuff for this week's Impact Review. Dick Storm was going to make an appearance, and he's backed out. I was going to do other things, maybe get some Summer involved, another thing or two, try and have some fun. But somehow, TNA managed to suck all of the fun out of me for this week's Impact. And I know some of you have commented, like on last week's review, like, da da da. Why are you excited when you know what's going to happen? You know how it's going to play out. Well, keep this in mind: is that I'm not reading spoilers, so I'm acting as if I don't know what's going to happen next because I do not, because I'm not reading the spoilers. So that way, when this stuff does happen, I'm able to formulate completely my own opinion based off of my experiences at that moment, not having, a week or a couple of weeks to plan and prepare my thoughts, dot, 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 dot. Usually, this is where I would come in and give you some real comprehensive, in depth, thought provoking analysis of Impact and all of this. Well, that's not going to happen this week. That is for damn sure. You know, when you think about TNA, and like I saw a picture, I think Deluxe Man posted on Twitter, asked me my thoughts. It was Impact at a high school gym, and more than half the seats were empty, and they're like, this company's done. And you know what? I saw that picture, and I laughed and thought to myself, somehow this company can get 1.3, 1.4, 1.2, 1.1 million people to watch them pretty consistently every single week. They are on national cable television, get over a million viewers consistently every single week, and yet can barely draw 500 people consistently to a live event. Consistently. And if somebody will say, well, what about the time they were in New York and they drew 2,800? Or how about this time? Look at the attendance at Bound for Glory. Horrible. And you know why? It's because this company has done it to themselves time after time after time. Now, I tweeted out to Dave Lagana this week that when he sat there and tweeted something, I don't even remember what the hell he said about Bully Ray and Mr. Anderson, and I just retweeted back something to the effect of, and again, I'm paraphrasing because I choose not to remember it all, that nobody cares. We've seen this before. Maybe we're tired of seeing it. Maybe we don't need to see it. Maybe we don't need to continue to perpetuate this stupid ass Aces and Eights shit anymore. Even though it's gone, it's still fucking there because you're still having Bully Ray and Mr. Anderson feud when we've seen this before and we don't want to fucking see it again. And he says, well, you seem very negative. How about trying to be positive and stop unfolding your arms? Well, listen here, asshole. How about I fold my fucking arms? And how about, instead of trying to tiptoe around the subject, how about you address the fact that while you sometimes do some good things from a presentation standpoint, your company is dumb as shit and continues to be dumb as shit. You got Bully Ray sitting there wanting to set Joseph Park on fire, and he always sprays lighter fluid on Mr. Anderson and then holds up a lighter. Really? That's the type of shit you do? And you think it's good? You really think anybody gives a flying fuck about Bully Ray and Mr. Anderson? No, they don't. Part of the whole deal, I thought, for 2014, out with Hogan and Bischoff, we're going to focus on new people. We're going to try and create new stars. It's just more of the same old shit. And the thing like with Gunner and James Storm, that's really damn good. I love when tag teams split up, and I love the dynamics of it. This is being very well written and very well produced, in my opinion. The fact that you can't really tell whose side you should be on, whether it's Gunner or James Storm, because frankly, they both have points. And you could sit there and say, well, you don't want to be torn as an audience. You got to get behind one or the other. Well, it's still kind of leaving it veiled as to who's ultimately going to be the good guy and who's ultimately going to be the bad guy in this situation. I'm looking forward to the match next week between the two of them with that feast or fire briefcase on the line. I'm enjoying this feud. They need to have Gunner go over. They need to make him a star. For them, anyways. They need to make him into a top guy because he can be for them in 2014. That's something that they're doing well. That's something I really like. But you look at things like the Knockouts division. Oh, what they've done to that is indefensible. You look at Kurt Angle having a random ass cage match against both members of Bad Influence and then beating both members. Indefensible. And then you turn right around and you have Sting versus Bobby Roode in another cage match when Kurt Angle and Bobby Roode are supposed to be in a cage match next week at Genesis, and that's supposed to be a big deal. You ruin the fucking stipulation and gimmick. You're not getting it over. You're being fucking stupid, and you're demeaning and minimalizing the impact of that gimmick when you have two fucking matches on your show that have a goddamn cage match, Dave Lagana. You stupid fuck. I mean, really. Is this the type of mentality that is prevalent in TNA's creative processes? Is the fact that you think everything's good and that we should just put a positive spin on it? No, you know what? Sometimes you need to bottom out and you need to come to grips with the realization that you don't know what you're doing and that what you're doing is wrong and that what you are doing is screwed up and it is the shits and that it's not too late to fix it. But if you keep going in this direction, it will be too late to fix it. It's that simple. I mean, you're supposed to make a big deal between Kurt Angle and Bobby Roode next week in a freaking cage match at Genesis, which, by the way, is on free TV. Even though it's the same length as Impact, it doesn't have any difference or significance or meaning or change in the way it's presented, even though it's a free pay-per-view on Spike TV. How's it a free pay-per-view? How are pay-per-views free? That's a complete oxymoron. How can it be free if it's supposed to be a pay-per-view? A pay-per-view means you do what? Oh, you pay-per-view. If it's free, you just call it fucking Impact. Oh, god damn it. Let's go on and on about this shit forever. But you're going to have two fucking cage matches. This shit came straight out of the Vince Russo playbook. And then throughout the night, all these different people are getting eliminated backstage. I was expecting some ninjas to come out and freaking kidnap Samoa Joe. So stupid. There's so many things about this company are so fucking stupid. But then the biggest piece of stupidity has to be the main event. I sat there and was giving you guys in TNA a lot of credit for doing so much of a better job with the champion leaves and takes the belt with him storyline than what WWE did with CM Punk in that summer of Punk. That was really a summer of shitty spunk in 2011. You were doing a lot of things right. You're doing a lot of things better. You got a lot of people still questioning whether or not this is ultimately a work or a shoot with AJ leaving the company or not. It's phenomenal stuff. You got the people wondering. That's a good thing. But you build up to this moment. Oh, and by the way, I realize you might be thinking about it from a contract standpoint, different shit, but you're going to have your two world champions, Magnus versus AJ Styles, on Impact the week before Genesis, which used to be a pay-per-view, one of your big four that is now a free pay-per-view. You gave it away for free, not on a pay-per-view. Not only did you do that, you did it perhaps in the most idiotic, moronic way I have perhaps ever seen. Dusty Rhodes thinks that main event was incredibly overbooked. Vince Russo would be ashamed of that because Dave Lagana, everybody involved with TNA, you out Russo with that Russo piece of Russo shit. Even Vince Russo would have said that's too much. I mean, there's one thing to be said about having unpredictability and crash TV, but you just crashed right into a brick wall doing 90 miles a fucking hour. I mean, this would be like giving Michael J. Fox a paintbrush and asking him to paint the Sistine Chapel. How's that going to work? This was bad. And I find it, frankly, a little bit insulting. And I'm going to fold my arms again. Because I cannot believe that you spent really 3 months building up to this. This is what TNA decided to give us. We're expecting Magnus versus AJ Styles, and maybe this being a big moment where you maybe knew Magnus was going to win, but you'd have Magnus work the whole match. And I don't know all the backstage dealings. Maybe it was something like AJ Styles refused to go down clean, and this is what you came up with, or this happened, or that happened. I don't know all that other bullshit. All I know is how it came across to me as a professional wrestling fan watching at home. It pissed me off. And frankly, it kind of insulted me a little bit. You've been building to this moment for months, and that's the direction you go. You've been building to it for months, and instead of taking this opportunity to really make Magnus a big star for your company and make him the face of your company, you have him win in this cheap ass, chump ass, bitch ass, typical WWE cookie cutter chicken shit heel way. Wow. That's all I can really say is wow. Now, I will say this. I am no wrestling booker. I am no creative writer in the WWE or TNA. But I can assure you of this much. And I'll put money on it, Dave Lagana or anybody else involved in the company. Start off with the same factors, and on a good shit in 10 minutes, I can write something better than this week's fucking Impact. What are you going to do now? You're going to hype up another big heel faction? You're going to sit there and say that the Bromans and EC3 and Rockstar Spud are running wild all over TNA? Oh my god. Or it's a new mystery group, or it's Bully Ray taking everybody out. And it all adds up to nobody gives a shit. I know you're going to sit there and be fooled because you think, oh, our ratings were a little better this week. We had more viewers. How many people did you piss off? Not like, real good heat type of piss off. The X-Pac type of heat pissed off where people don't watch the next week. This was trash. Complete trash. And yet TNA will sit there and look at me, and the people in that company will look at me and try and bitch at me and say that I don't know what I'm talking about. And maybe I don't, to be fair. Maybe I don't. But when I see pictures of live events in high school gyms where 2/3 of the seat are empty, who are the ones that really don't know what the fuck they're talking about? Who are the ones that don't know what the fuck they're doing? Is it a scrub like me with a twitchy eye, a little bit of an eroded gap tooth in his mouth, and some frickin' looking sick ass peach fuzz that will never grow properly into a full man goatee? Or is it the people involved with TNA? You know things are bad when the fucking founder, after 11 plus years, doesn't want to be involved with you anymore. You know it's bad. That should tell you all you need to know. What an abortion of a show this week. What an abortion of a finish. What a true and utter disappointment this week's Impact was. I was feeling a lot more positive about this company after Bound for Glory, even though I knew there were a lot of outliers that suggested I should. There were a lot of things telling me that things aren't that good. There are a lot of things telling me that this company has the smell of a company that's on its last leg, that's about to go skunk a debut and croak. But man, this is the type of shit right here that someday, if TNA ever does ultimately go out of business, they lose their national television contract because the WWE gets with Viacom and all this other shit. It's going to be shit like this that you look back on and you say, you know what? That's why that fucking company ended up going away. And that's why nobody misses them. And even some of the hardest core TNA fans, if and when TNA does die someday, we'll sit back and say, it had a shitty run. I'm glad it's gone, though. I don't miss it. How sad. How truly sad. A company once founded in large part to try and go after that disenfranchised WCW audience that no longer was watching the product. of professional wrestling gave us that main event with AJ Styles and Magnus this week. What a piece of shit. Fuck everybody involved with that company for that bullshit, period.